Alright, welcome everybody to the first official episode of ERICSPLANATION. Today we're going to be covering the topic of manifestation, otherwise known as the art of manifestation or the law of attraction, as some of you may have heard of. So, the way I initially define proper manifestation would be that within an infinite, universal, divine being that is the Alpha and the Omega of all creation, any intended outcome that you could possibly desire has already been accomplished. The successful manifestation of that outcome lies in our ability to line up with it through the proper use of intention, detachment, and balanced with inspired action. So, let's get into this. To be quite honest with you, I'm still very much a student of life, and I'm still very much learning the proper technique to successful manifestation. I've had some successes and plenty of failures, but I'll let you know what I've learned along the way. I mentioned a few things in my definition that are what I believe are the main ingredients of successful manifestation, which is you have to set your intention, you have to become detached from the outcome, oddly enough. Isn't that ironic? And then when the feeling hits you and it's time to get off your ass, so to speak, and do something, when it's an inspired action, like for instance like me making these videos, this is not me forcing myself to do something. I was just suddenly inspired to do something that I've wanted to do for a long time, and now I'm taking the action. I know for me, throughout my studies as a life student, I have personally found manifestation comes easiest, like if for one, say, this should probably be an obvious one, but you're a clear lens for the divine to focus through. You know, you're not muddled up your mind with alcohol and drugs. So, and you want to take some time to make meditation, you know, a part of your daily or at least weekly activities, because you want to be clear. The clearer you are, really the more effortless things will start coming through for you. But anyway, intention is, well, it all starts with intention, doesn't it? Intention is everything. You plant the seed of your desired outcome, not against what you don't want to happen, obviously, but for what you do want to come through. The next and very important step would be detachment of that, and you kind of let it go. You let go of the intention, and then you trust in the divine or whatever higher power that you believe in, that if the intention is pure and it's in accord with God's will, then it'll come through for you. And you know, I find that I am constantly kind of rechecking my intentions. You know, maybe I will have gotten off track and started to believe something couldn't happen, but then I just remind myself, but well, what do I truly intend? What do I really want? It's not about what could or could not happen. I have to be honest with myself about what I actually want the outcome to be, and then I'll just reset that and go on with my life, and I let it go. I don't necessarily think that intention should be about constantly forcing your focus on the positive outcome that you want. I went through that. I didn't find it to be very successful, you know, but so I know this is probably kind of hard to understand the difference, but there is a difference between me kind of rechecking my intention every once in a while as opposed to trying to hold it in mind at all times. I just don't find that to be very successful for me. In fact, if anything, it seems like that's the exact kind of action that pushes it away, because I'm trying too hard. I'm reaching too hard for it. I need it too bad. I have a personal quote that goes, "You can have anything in life that you desire the moment you no longer need it." So, rechecking your intentions whenever you feel that they've gone off track, very good. Constantly trying to force your intentions onto the moment and make the moment conform to what you think it should be, probably not so good. Now let's get into detachment. Yeah, but that brings us to detachment. So I find that the more sincerely and completely you can become detached, the easier and more effortless your desires manifest. But it's like the quote that I just said. You you may think you need $1,000, right? Seriously, maybe you got debt, and so you feel like you need it. But as long as you feel like you need it, the chances of you manifesting that are very slim. Somehow you have to come to terms with all possible outcomes. Maybe you won't get your $1,000. Maybe you won't get the intention or desire that you've set. And but you have to trust that. And the reason why you have to trust that is because you have to know that the higher your higher self or the higher power that you believe in has a better understanding of life than you do, has a better understanding of you than you do. Maybe the the best outcome isn't the one that our egos desire. Of course, the ego just wants it easy all the time. Doesn't want any pain, doesn't want any suffering, obviously. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants any sadness or tragedy. But I hate to say it, that's dualistic thinking. You're thinking in terms of good and evil, and I don't believe God or your higher power thinks and or operates in such a way. Maybe what you really need is some kind of pressure put on you to get you to think about things differently. Maybe instead of that $1,000, you need to suffer a little bit in order to grow spiritually. It's like they say, people only reach for God when they're in pain, right? It's that kind of deal. And that's basically what I believe karma is. Karma is, it's like the pain and the suffering that prods us along until we learn to take conscious responsibility for our own actions and thoughts. So you set your intention, you have to let it go and just be willing and open for any outcome that may come along, and trust that whatever that outcome that does come is exactly what you needed at that moment in order to grow and to evolve. And then that'll bring us to our last point, which would be inspired action. A lot of people would ridicule the law of attraction when it first came out, thinking, oh, so you just think happy thoughts and never do anything. Well, that's not true. You absolutely do have to do your part. It's like in the Bible where they say, God helps those who help themselves. I consider it personally meeting the divine halfway. I do my part and the divine does its part. But it's pretty important that the action should feel inspired. It shouldn't be too forced. Sometimes you gotta kick yourself in the ass to get off the couch and do something, but whatever it is you come to do, it should be something that you at least have some kind of enjoyment for. So maybe you want to write a book and get a book deal or something, but obviously you're not going to get that done by sitting around and trying to manifest a book into being. You got to write it, you got to do your part, but while you're doing your part, you might meet someone that actually can help you get into the business. And that would be the divine having done its part. So me personally, I'm still working on it. I have successes and I have failures. When it has worked correctly for me, I've found that I've had to do very little, actually. When I've done it correctly, it's like it just comes to me, and in the most unusual ways. One of the most important things, though, that you want to keep in mind is that we think along the lines of, oh, that could never happen, or how that's a big one, and that's let me let you know, that's one that's going to stop all manifestations right in their tracks. Trying to figure out the how. That is probably one of the biggest roadblocks to proper manifestation. Trying to figure out the how. It's not our job to figure out the how. But yeah, and in those instances that I've had it happen, and I wasn't concerned about the how, and I was not attached to the outcome, it would just happen really fast and just in such a crazy way that I never in my life could have imagined it would have gone around. Even stuff that I thought wasn't possible, but I still knew that I wanted, and I wanted to be honest with myself and set the proper intention. And even stuff I thought was not possible would just flow to me. But, again, I want to stress that not every desire we have is wholesome, obviously. A lot of them are ego. A lot of it's just your ego that wants more power, more things. And that's not necessarily the best thing for our spirit, for our spiritual growth and our evolution. I'm not necessarily sure that this life is all about our ego getting everything it wants. So you have to remain detached because you're not going to get every little BMW that you want to manifest. You're not always going to get a big ass house. But if I could give some advice, I know A Course in Miracles claims that there is no difference in difficulty between a small or a large miracle, and I do believe this. However, I know that my mind sometimes tends to believe otherwise. My mind believes it's easier for me to manifest a cup of coffee than $1 million. So if I was going to give you some advice on how to, maybe start practicing, I would say start small. Because your mind just believes it's easier, and you're just going to want to work with that for now. You can expand it and change that over time, especially after you've made a few small manifestations. Like after you've manifested that small cup of coffee, next thing you know, you're going to feel like you can get a little bit more and a little bit more. So, but I think it's best just start small and kind of get some practice and work your way up. Another thing I'd like to address really quickly is that I know when The Secret came along, and the law of attraction sort of became a household name, and everybody flocked to that. I think a lot of people, when they started trying to manifest their intentions, would try and solve all of their problems with one fell swoop. In other words, you had thousands or maybe millions of people all trying to manifest a winning Powerball ticket. Because, they think, well, if I got $200 million all at once, then I wouldn't have to worry about anything for the rest of my life. But again, although it's possible, your mind, in parts of your mind, you don't quite believe it. And so that's going to have an effect. I have come to believe that it's best to start things small. Maybe don't try and solve all of your problems all at once. Say the rent comes along, the rent's going to be due next week and you owe $700. You don't quite have that much. Well, instead of trying to manifest 200 million, why don't you just intend on getting $700 and then relax, detach, and let it go? I say work at it step by step. Maybe one day you need a book. There's a certain book that you want to read. You just set the intention and go, instead of trying to solve everything all at once with a large sum of money. And again, with every little manifestation that you successfully accomplish, you'll be that much more knowledgeable, you'll be that much more confident, and that much more likely to do it again and to expand to bigger and bigger manifestations with each try. If you have any questions or anything you would like me to cover a little more clearly about it, please let me know and I will do what I can. I know that there's probably still a lot of unanswered questions, but this is a series, and we will come around to covering this again. But so I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to my video, and I hope that it's helped you in any way at all. So, good luck, and I'll see you next time.